This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Globalspeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of Globalspeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. David, welcome to Tech Talk.
Hi, Frank. Thanks for having me.
We always learn so much, gain so much insight. There's, the old management thing that we used to say, and that was there are no decisions when you know the facts. Challenge becomes getting that information and getting it not only valid enough, but in enough time to be able to make it actionable. I think one of the key that a lot of our professionals in the technology often lean to and use is what you guys do at Robert Half and the information that you put out. So let's talk a little bit about the Atlanta CIO survey and maybe go into a little bit about what that's all about and how Robert Half plays a role in it.
That sounds great. So we essentially redid a CIO survey that we did back in 2015, and it was with the security focus. What we found was security measures are becoming even more important than they were 3 years ago to CIOs and their organizations.
Well, now that said, I don't think that's I don't know that's a revolutionary discovery. I don't want to be, because I think do we talk about anything else but security anymore? I mean, it seems like from either a consumer standpoint or from a business standpoint, even whether I'm a vendor or an owner or entrepreneur, executive, it just seems everybody's so, let's just say, sensitive about the subject. Maybe go into a little bit about understanding how the whole environment works and how it relates to, I'm going to guess, bringing in or enhancing the kind of training that's necessary to make sure that improvements happen over an extended period of time.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know, kind of like you alluded to, there have been a lot of well-publicized security breaches and hacks as of late. And I think no organization is completely invulnerable from hacks. It's about putting up enough roadblocks to stop a lot of the less sophisticated attempts and to prevent some of the more sophisticated attempts from getting the toehold that they are trying to get and detecting them early and often so you can take measures. What we found was CIOs and their security teams are no longer trusting users to manage their security on their own. The training for those users is becoming more and more important, but passwords are still weak. We still go for more convenience and speed than that 16-digit completely random password. So a lot of CIOs and their security teams are putting in multifactor authentication, or MFA, to provide an extra checkpoint and barrier when it comes to security.
Well, now, it's almost self-explanatory when you say multi-factor authentication, but what does that mean to me? Is that a piece of equipment? Is it profiling? Is it some kind of, say, for example, protocol or all of those things? Maybe for our listeners that may not be that close to the actual terminology, what would be an example, or give us a couple examples of multi-factors? I can't say those two words. And multi-factor authenticity. What are some of the things in that process that we might understand to get a better understanding of what that means? I just rattle around in that circle. What does it mean, David?
Sure. So a lot of your listeners probably are already familiar with it and use it. They may not know what it's called, though. So multi-factor is essentially, it uses a device that you already have, often your phone. And when you log in and put your password in, it'll send a special code via text message generally, or it may use some of the MFA apps out there, like Microsoft Authenticator, and it'll pop up on your phone. You'll have to enter the code back in to the website or hit approve if you're using an app, which then sends a secure message back and allows you in. So basically it's making an extra step to make sure that you are who you say you are.
So, obviously some of the numbers that, I'm looking at the report, kind of getting a general input from it, but one of the things that certainly stands out is it seems like there's a lot of discussion around that process and a focus from the CIOs. I guess, does the number of companies, it's pretty phenomenal. It's been increasing, but I understand it's about, 25%? Why is that?
It's actually, the number has increased by 25%. It's because hackers are getting smarter. And the companies, like I said, can't rely on their employees anymore to have proper procedures. And we make mistakes, right? So this is just an extra way to enhance it, and we have 70% of CIOs are also looking at putting this in this year too. So that number is only going to go up.
Yeah, one of the things that I find from the other standpoint, we talk to a lot of IT consultants and a lot of people that are providing some of the technologies and the services. I know you guys are involved in so many aspects of the dynamics of that whole environment. But, you talk to a lot of them, and they all talk about noise, and they all talk about hyperbole and the challenge of being able to really get across to the average executive or obviously busy entrepreneur, not only the circumstances, certainly we hear about those on the news, but some of the possible solutions, because I think one of the things you hear a lot about is people don't even know what they have, don't know what they want until they see it. They don't even know they have a problem. And in the case of, say, for security, you and I both know you can be hacked and not even know it. So I guess it's a case where I'm fascinated that the dynamics are constant and hybrid off of each other. And I just think to myself, what in the world can, say, for example, someone that's a manager that's trying to put together, say, an internal team, maybe go into what managers would look for, when they're bringing those kind of team members together. I mean, when you're talking about that kind of complex, concentrated environment, what would be some of the things that you should think about when you're getting involved in putting those kind of groups together?
Sure, and I would say before obviously putting a team together is important. We'll touch on that in a second. But I think it's important to bring in a specialist organization that can do penetration testing and review your best practices and policies and procedures and make expert recommendations that your internal team then puts into place. And penetration testing is where they actually try to either low-tech or high-tech hack into your system, find the vulnerabilities, and then make recommendations on how to prevent that in the future. But when you're looking to bring on security team members, there are three things to focus on. You want the people you bring in to be looking ahead to the future, always looking at what security trends and hacking trends are happening and upcoming, and so they can identify those vulnerabilities ahead of time. You want them to have security certifications like the CISSP or Certified Information Systems Security Professional, the CISM, Certified Information Security Manager, or some of the CompTIA certifications as well. It just shows that investment into their career. They want to learn, they're willing to learn, and they have been trained those best practices. And then they need to have good soft skills. They need to talk well with not just internal people that are going to be following these best practices, but also good soft skills to deal with third parties and vendors to make sure that those experts are making good recommendations and those things are being followed.
Well, obviously, one of the things we also hear in the discussion not only about security, but in so many verticals as it evolves in technology, is the fact that in many cases we have workforce problems. We have actually openings to the degree that it's not only impacting, say, job numbers, it's actually impacting the potential growth simply because we don't have that incredible, absolutely necessary internal resource called capable employees. Let's go into a little bit about that. Maybe talk a little bit about, you mentioned about the various certifications and degrees. Certainly that lays a lot of credibility, helps me to make my decision if I'm a person that's sourcing and looking at potential options and choices. Now, what is the current hiring landscape as far as the security professionals in Atlanta and then in the greater industry in general?
Yeah, it's below the national average. The market is absolutely tight for security professionals. Everyone is realizing that they need to have them, just as the survey shows, and so the competition out there is fierce. So what we're recommending clients do is that they put together attractive packages around compensation, benefits, etc., flexible work from home or flex hours to make sure they're attractive to these professionals, and also bringing in those third parties that I mentioned to do the initial groundwork. And then being willing to hire or internally promote IT staff that maybe is a bit more junior that they can then train and put through those certifications so they can grow into those roles and increase their headcount.
Well, again, the pressure on people that are outside the industry having to deal with so much vertical specification having particular individuals that handle one aspect of the particular process. And of course, the people are going, I don't have enough time, I can't deal with all the things I've got to deal with. Partly maybe give us a little insight on, okay, we've got this incredible group of information, David. You've put together some real good facts. How, if I'm an entrepreneur, beyond getting a copy of it and trying to interpret it and then translate it for my own sake, can I ask you guys to do that? Will you, if I call you, or can I expect someone to help me with it, or do you just go to a website and download it or look at the information? I guess really, how do you reach out to really make sure that the information is understood and it's actually used to the best result of a potential client?
Sure. We host it on our website, and I can send you the link to post. They're welcome to give us a call. I'm happy to make basic recommendations, but then we do have a division that does specialize in security, division called Protiviti, and they're the true subject matter experts that can go in and do these assessments and analysis.
I guess it's one thing, again, another cliche is you can't solve a problem until you know what it is. So partly where I'm going here is even setting up the scenario that I get an understanding of what that information means to me and to my business. Because I think in a lot of cases, so much, again, that's another aspect. We get a tsunami, not a lot of noise, but a lot of information. And the information gets to the point where if I'm trying to interpret that to make a decision, it's hard to do it by myself. So it's good to know that you can reach out and if nothing else, say, hey, I'm the wrong person. You need to contact someone else in my organization. Just a feeling that I can access some help on some of these things, because it just gets so overwhelming because there's so many of it. Well, obviously, we're taking a lot to talk about, but there's so much more to go. Hopefully, we'll bring you back again. The insight into numbers and marketplaces are so valuable in this dynamic that is constantly changing. Is there anything before we close that you'd like to add to the conversation, David?
Yeah. Just when you're building your own team, move quickly, be prepared. If time is short, work with a recruiter. Communicate often and openly with candidates. And when you find the right person, make an offer quickly and to make sure you snag them, because like I said, that market out there is really tight for them, and so urgency is of utmost importance.
Well, it's about pitching and catching, that's for sure. Not only do I got to make sure that when I bring that person in, I got to make sure that the culture is right for them to sustain it. And I think keyword in that case is authenticity. There's no two ways about that part of it. Kind of interesting how that so much of this whole environment kind of deals with, on one end, trust, and on the other end, authenticity, because so many, again, of the people that I know that are working in the technology environment, it really does become a very close and personal kind of partnership, if you will, strategic, but a partnership because there's so much codependency on each other. Hey, you know what? I think that if there's somebody out there that's making a difference, somebody that's setting the path and has been really kind of providing thought leadership for a long time, it's got to be Robert Half. There's hardly anyone else that I can think of would almost be comparable to it. David, thank you so much for what you guys are doing out there, but also for your participation in TAG and for spending a couple of minutes today to explain a little bit about your survey and to join us on the conversation about security here on Tech Talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. Always happy to talk to you guys.